Pack Daddy NFL. This is round 2. If you're curious, round 2 of what? Check above. If it says 9.2, logically we're looking for 9.1 if you haven't seen round 1. I'm not sure which number it is, but I'm thinking it's 9. Either way, you're looking for the dot 1 of whatever dot 2 we're on right now. Does that make sense? Are we all on the same page? Sweet deal. Check the description below. That is where you'll need to find everything that you ever need to know about anything ever. Facebook group, very important if you want to be involved in any capacity whatsoever. Facebook group is where you can do that. If you don't have Facebook for whatever reason, you can email me. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and subscribe to this channel, please, because we're looking to get up to a certain benchmark. Once we get up to a benchmark, then you start, I don't know, just things start to happen, and it's better for everybody. So just do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Finally, LandryFootball.com is where you'll find Chris Landry. The guy is an insider. He's currently doing scouting and all this different stuff for a number of different teams, about a dozen or so, I believe. So if you want some inside information, LandryFootball.com is where it's at. He has free and paid type stuff. It's up to you. But either way, there's no reason why you shouldn't go to that channel and at least check out the free information that he has on that channel. Link for that is also in the description. And also there's going to be that little picture down on the bottom right throughout this entire draft to remind you to check out LandryFootball.com. Also, something else I learned because I followed him on Twitter. You might want to follow him on Twitter. It's awesome. The guy's like breaking down film as the football game's going on, so I'm watching things, and it's in case you weren't sure what just happened, from a very specific analytical scouting standpoint, Chris Landry's going to tell you right on your phone as you're watching it. It's pretty phenomenal. So give him a follow on Twitter. Now, on to the draft. This is round 2. The only thing I want to point out is that in round 1, what we did not have was a big board. When you don't have a big board and you have about 60 different people making picks, occasionally what happens is somebody slips through the cracks. Sometimes you forget about a guy and you just assume he was gone because we're on pick like 34 and he should have gone to pick 15. So here's the deal. If you see somebody that was drafted way too late, here's what you do. Just remember, they were found with crack. We found crack in their bedroom, right? I don't know the exact circumstances. The full details of the case are still pending. But just remember, don't yell at me in the comments section. Just remember crack. Crack cocaine. Found a lot of it. A lot of it. Moving on. With the 33rd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Bryce Love, running back, Stanford. Now, as a recap, and this is GM Nikolai, in round 1 they drafted Josh Rosen first of all, and then Minkah Fitzpatrick. So they did not get Saquon Barkley, obviously, which is what some people think. However, there are also people who are looking at this saying, why would you get Saquon Barkley? There's no reason to take a running back that early. You can get lots of talented people later in the draft, and this would be Exhibit A. Bryce Love is a very talented running back. You now have a quarterback. You have probably the most talented defensive back in the entire draft in Minkah Fitzpatrick to help with that pass defense. And now you have Bryce Love as a running back who can come in and complement Duke Johnson. I think it makes sense. Works for me. With the 34th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Colton Miller, tackle, UCLA. Now the GM for this was Deck, that's D-E-C, pronounced Deck. Just is what it is. Their previous pick was Saquon Barkley, so they did get that phenomenal running back. They're going to probably stick with Eli. Got to work on the offensive line. I'm not going to say a lot of negative things about offensive line because I am stunned to find out how many people are very proud of their offensive lines. I'm using Pro Football Focus as my reference because I don't watch every Giants football game. I watch very few Giants football games unless it's on like Sunday night, Monday night, whatever. I'm just not watching them because I have other things to do. I have my own allegiances. But I'm looking at this. Just bear with me now. Horrible, terrible, garbage, trash. That's not me talking. Don't yell at me. Eric Flowers, ranked outside of the top 50. Horrible, terrible, trash. He has been for 3 straight years. Adam Bisnowaty, I believe he was a late-round draft pick. I remember his name. Wasn't he like Pitt or something? I don't know. But I remember he was a late-round guy. Pure rubbish, right? Way worse than Eric Flowers. Some guy named Chad Wheeler. Looks like he's a rookie. Pure trash. So, I'm just saying. Because I know every time I say that, they're like, oh, Eric Flowers is a freak. He's so good. He's better than everybody on the Packers. And people start crying. I'm sorry. But I'm just saying, I feel like it's a good pick. I don't know if he's the best tackle available. But I feel like if you're going to keep Eli, and you're going to try to take advantage of the weapons that you already have, and now you have this great running back, I'm just saying a tackle probably makes a little bit of sense. So, great pick for the Giants, in my opinion. Feel free to release some rage in the comments section if you feel so inclined, Giants fans. With the 35th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, and for the fourth time already, the Cleveland Browns select Chukwuma Okorafor, tackle, Western Michigan. Thanks a lot, Tom, GM, for selecting that guy again. So to recap, which I just did because they just picked, they now have Josh Rosen as their new quarterback, Minkah Fitzpatrick to help in the back end. They have Bryce Love as their running back, and now they went and got a tackle, Chukwuma Okorafor, out of Western Michigan. Let me get to Tom's notes real quick before I do my own little spiel about offensive line. Here is what Tom had to say. The reason I picked him is the Browns' right tackle play has been awful, so he'll be able to come in and help protect Rosen right away while learning from Joe Thomas. How dare you, sir? Our right tackle is elite. He is the greatest ever. I got your back, Browns fans. Don't ever talk about an offensive lineman ever again. Now, if you're one of those weird Pro Football Focus guys, you could say that, well, maybe he's right about that Joe Thomas is a top 5 tackle, and outside of that, they don't have anybody in the top 50. This Sean Coleman guy, he's outside of the top 50. Spencer Drango, whoever that is, outside of the top 65. He's not even in the realm of, he shouldn't even be a starter. Right? If you got 2 tackles on every team, 32 teams, 64 should be the absolute worst, number 64. This guy is outside of the top 64. What in the world is he doing playing on a football team? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but I can tell you that I think Chukwuma Okorafor is a pretty good pick for the Cleveland Browns. With the 36th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Derrius Guice, running back, LSU. Now, this is Chris's GM pick, and I can already hear all the screams. First of all, why didn't Derrius Guice go in the first round? Second of all, how does Bryce Love go before Derrius Guice? I don't know. Ask Nikolai. He picked him. I don't know the answer to that question. I know he's not the only one in the world that thinks that way. Some people like Bryce Love a lot more than probably they should, but it is what it is. Colts got an awesome pick. They get Derrius Guice, and a lot of people, again, are picking Saquon to go to the Colts, even though they're probably going to trade back, but I'm just saying, a lot of people have said that. Here again is another example of why and how not picking Saquon kind of makes sense. Is Derrius as good as Saquon? No, probably not, but still. They got Connor Williams in round 1. I know, everybody was, maybe not the best example because everybody was upset about that. Connor Williams at 3. Yeah, I guess, I'm trying to defend this scenario here, but I'm trying to think out loud, and I'm saying, would you rather have a combo like Saquon and Chukwuma, or let's call it Martinas, Rankin, whatever, a second-round tackle, or would you rather have, Derrius Guice and, well, maybe you would rather have Derrius Guice and Connor Williams. I don't know. You tell me. What would you rather have? Would you rather have Saquon and a second-round guy like Colton Miller, or would you rather have Derrius Guice and Connor Williams? I don't know. I might rather have Derrius and Connor Williams. I don't know the answer to that question. With the 37th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Isaiah Wynn, tackle out of Georgia. These tackles and running backs, we've 5 selections, 3 tackles, 2 running backs. They're just flying off the board right now. Here is GM Christopher's notes on Isaiah Wynn. Having taken Sam Darnold in round 1, the Jets need to protect him. Wynn is a versatile offensive lineman who can play tackle, guard, and center. That's crazy. He is fantastic in the run game, which shows in his important role blocking for Sony Michel and Nick Chubb this past year. On top of this, he has been very consistent during the college career. Despite being a slightly undersized lineman, he still has a natural skill set that will allow him to step up at the next level, most likely at guard. Okay, well, I put him at tackle. They're probably going to play him at guard. Whatever. The Jets' offensive line, as best as I can tell, is not very good. I'll leave the joke alone where, whatever, you get it by now. But from what I can tell, they're not very good, and my personal contention is if the guy can play tackle, they're going to put him at tackle because it's a more important position. However, where is he better suited? I don't really know the answer to that question. If he's a, Pro Bowl guard and a mediocre tackle, you probably put him at guard. But I don't know. It depends where the Jets want to put him. You got a versatile guy. You can allow it to play out over the course of the draft, right? Maybe we say we're probably going to put him at guard, and then in the third round we grab a guard. Now we can put him at right tackle or whatever, right? So that versatility kind of plays itself out in a lot of different ways where you kind of have a role for him right now, but that role could change depending on free agency, depending on the rest of the rounds in this draft. So it works out in that capacity. With the 38th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jaire Alexander, cornerback. Man, oh man, I need a cup of coffee. Thank you very much. Out of Louisville, Ethan made the pick, and here are his notes. Our two biggest needs are defensive end and cornerback. Since we addressed pass rush in the first round picking Auden Key, why over Bradley Chubb, I have no clue. I don't know either. So we pick corner in the second and best one available and maybe one of the best ones in the draft in Jaire Alexander, who I think is a first round talent. So for those of you that are confused, it's not one person picking every single pick because we have over 200 and some guys in the group. I let everybody do one pick, so you got 4 different Browns people and 2 different Bucks people. So that's why he's not yelling at himself. He's yelling at the guy in the first round who picked Auden Key. If you don't know again what I'm talking about, it's because you didn't watch the first video, and you need to go do that immediately because it just is going to help you out quite a bit. With the 39th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, GM Clark with the Bears selects Isaiah Oliver, cornerback out of Colorado. It would not be one of my videos without my alarm going off. All right, here are Clark's notes on Isaiah Oliver. Isaiah Oliver is the next corner from Colorado that has produced quite a few talented defensive backs in recent years. With the size scouts are looking for, along with the ability to stick with his man in coverage, Isaiah Oliver is a fringe first-round prospect. In the second round, the Bears will be receiving a steal to add to their young, talented secondary, consisting of Jackson, Amos, and Fuller. And here, something interesting I'm starting to hear. And we all know how these things change over time, but it seems as though more and more people are starting to talk about cornerbacks. I believe it was Walter Football who commented on it. He's got some ins with some people, and he's talking to personnel people in the NFL, and he's starting to hear more and more about these talented cornerbacks. So it's starting to sound more and more like some of these guys are going to be first-round talent type guys, which is awesome because last year, look at how that turned out with guys who were incredibly talented that are now already some of the best in the NFL. Tre'Davious White, the guy was like a second-round draft pick, and he's like the highest-graded rookie in all of Pro Football Focus. Obviously, everybody knows about the Saints guy, Marshawn Lattimore, who was the first cornerback taken last year. So a lot of good talented cornerbacks last year. It sounds like there's a lot of good talented cornerbacks this year. So it doesn't, whereas, maybe a couple of weeks ago, if he would have said Isaiah Oliver is a steal at early second, I would have kind of shook my head. At this point, yeah, maybe he is. For the record, the Bears selected Calvin Ridley in the first round. So there you have it. With the 40th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Martinas, Rankin, tackle, Mississippi State. The GM for that is John, or as I like to call him, JCP. In the first round, they selected Baker Mayfield. So it's pretty standard, pretty methodical. The Broncos need offensive line help, but they also desperately need a quarterback. They had a talented one in Baker Mayfield, so they took him. Round 2, they turn right around and grab another quality second-round tackle in Martinas Rankin. I don't know what else to say about that. That just seems to be a logical pick. It makes sense to me. If it does or does not, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, let's move on. With the 41st pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker, Virginia Tech. The GM for that pick was Ryan, and here are his comments. The Raiders currently employ Navarro Bowman, who has been far more effective than any other inside linebacker they've had in recent years. Next year is unknown. It's not guaranteed that Bowman will be back. Even if Bowman returns, a successor should be drafted, as Bowman is on the wrong side of 30. Edmonds is a linebacker with old-style size, 6'5", 250, with modern-day speed. He's shown excellent decision-making skills along with the ability to take on blockers. effectively shed them and make tackles with no momentum. He has also shown the ability to cover tight ends, which is impressive for a man his size. I currently have him rated as a mid-first round talent. Believe this is a fantastic value pick that fills a need as well. As a Raiders fan, I hope that the Raiders have the opportunity to draft Edmonds. Don't think I could say it any better than that. Don't have any problem with the pick. We're going to move right along. With the 42nd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Lorenzo Carter, edge rusher, Georgia. Ryan made, I don't know, it says his name again. Maybe, I think he did make the pick. We'll see. Here are Ryan's notes. Lorenzo Carter is a fantastic edge rusher that can be a true game wrecker. My case rests with the blocked field goal during the Oklahoma game. He is fantastic on the edge. I've seen him consistently beat tackles such as Mike McGlinchey and Orlando Brown on tape. He's 6'6", could use to put on some more weight at the professional level. Even if the Dolphins wish to employ him at linebacker, he showed in the Oklahoma game that although he was beat by Mark Andrews from time to time, he could at least compete with the top tight ends in the class. There you have it. Dolphins, by the way, added Quentin Nelson in round 1, so some pretty solid picks there for the Dolphins. They need a lot of stuff, but that's pretty good to get a top 5 player at pick 11 in the first round with Quentin Nelson, and then to turn around and get an edge rusher in the second round is pretty solid. With the 43rd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Equanimeous St. Brown, wide receiver, Notre Dame. GM Clelin made the pick. In the first round, they got Dorance, which I remember he didn't. If you left me a note, I didn't see it. But in the first round, I remember him being real excited about Dorance, saying he thought Dorance was the best defensive tackle in the entire draft class. And then Equanimeous St. Brown, obviously, is a giant of a human being at wide receiver. Patriots always, I don't even know what to say about the pick other than it doesn't seem to matter who they plug in at wide receiver. But I'm sure getting Tom Brady, this giant of a human being, as a target isn't going to hurt. It just depends on your draft board. The wide receivers that they do have, they're so, I don't know. I don't even know how to. I was talking to my grandpa who lives in Boston, and obviously he's a big Patriots fan, and I was just marveling over the phone at how good this team is and how they use just patchwork, right? They go out and grab people, and then these guys get hurt, and it doesn't even matter. They make it work. They find a way to make it work. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying you can't have a bad pick with the Patriots. It doesn't matter who you plug in. They're going to make it work. Obviously, this 6 foot, 7 foot, 9 foot wide receiver is going to be a solid football player for the Patriots. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Moving on to pick 44. With the 44th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Simmie Cobbs Jr., wide receiver, Indiana. Michael made the pick. Previous pick, Josh Allen. So again, what are we seeing? We're seeing you get your quarterback, and then you get him either a tackle or a wide receiver. It makes perfect sense. The biggest question here for the Redskins is Josh Allen any good? And then is Simmie Cobbs any good? Because both of those things are very, very debatable. I mean, it's debatable not just from a negative standpoint, like I don't know about that, but debatable in terms of it could be 2 amazing picks and 2 amazing steals. It could be 2 busts. And I don't think anybody knows that. I'm curious to hear your opinion in the comments section. Be sure to let me know. But I'm just saying, in a general standpoint, regardless of what people think now, we don't know, and it'll be very interesting to find out. That could be an amazing 1-2 in the future. It could just go down as just a horrible bust, and the Redskins are just horrible for a very long time as a result of these 2 terrible picks. With the 45th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Carlton Davis, cornerback out of Auburn. Brandon made the pick. Here's what he had to say. Took the biggest need here because I went crazy in the first round with Courtland Sutton, which is a pick that I enjoy. Most Packer fans that were commenting didn't like it. They seem to think we're fine at wide receiver, which I don't really understand that. But anyways, like the size and speed of Davis better than Dante Jackson, which is another option I was considering. Obviously, cornerback is a big need. You know, it's weird. I talk about how things are changing. It used to be a guaranteed slam dunk, 100% Packers are taking an edge rusher, probably Harold Landry, maybe Arden Key. Who knows what's going to happen? Now it's Joshua Jackson in the first round all day long. I don't know if it's because the hype of these cornerbacks are getting more and more. There used to be like no cornerback worthy of pick 14 overall. Maybe like Denzel Ward. Now it's just guaranteed. Josh Jackson is the guy. He's a freak. He's amazing. Um, but anyways, yeah, cornerback at some point. I was talking to somebody in the comments section from a Packers standpoint, and I don't want to spend 10 minutes on it because I'm a Packer fan, but um, I'm kind of exhausted by it. We got a new GM, so it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of first and second round taking defensive backs, and none of them can do anything. Rollins and Randall. Rollins is off the team. Randall's no good. Then we get King and Josh Jones. Neither of those guys did anything this year. I'm bored with it. I'm tired of it. Let's just go get some other people. We obviously don't know how to draft defensive backs. We'll draft for other stuff. We'll get wide receivers, tight ends, offensive line, defensive line, whatever it is that we know how to draft for. And then we'll just go out and get somebody in free agency that's a corner. Let somebody else draft good corners, and we'll just pay for them when you don't want to pay for them anymore. Because I'm tired of drafting guys that just are no good at playing football. Moving on. With the 46th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Will Hernandez, guard out of UTEP. Their first pick was Mike McGlinchey, so whether or not anybody in the world wants to go offensive line is up in the air. But if there's any team that needs to do that, you could definitely argue that it's the Bengals. And not only that, Mike McGlinchey is probably the best tackle in the class. Some people say Connor Williams, but either way, as late as they were picking to get Mike McGlinchey is phenomenal. And now they get Will Hernandez at 46, which some people are saying he's kind of like maybe late first round type talent. It seems to me as though the Bengals got two steals in McGlinchey and Hernandez. Obviously, there's other needs on the team, but no need bigger than offensive line, and they got two really good ones here. Lewis is the GM. I think made a pretty good solid pick here with Will Hernandez, guard out of UTEP. Next up, with the 47th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Dante Jackson, cornerback out of LSU. Jordan was the GM. In the first round, they got Lamar Jackson. Like him or hate him, whatever, you kind of understand it. They need a quarterback, they got a quarterback. I got to be completely honest, and he didn't leave me any notes, which if you don't leave me notes, you're just leaving yourself open to criticism. Just saying. Just throwing it out there for anybody that wants to participate in a draft. You don't want to have anything negative said, just throw me some comments, defend yourself a little bit. I don't get the pick. Unless you're looking at it saying Dante Jackson is a first-round pick and it's a great value. I'm looking at this team. You need a quarterback, you got a quarterback. Your quarterback doesn't really have anyone to throw to. I mean, I know you got Brown and Brown, but what I'm looking at, they're both playing not very good. So you could use a wide receiver, and Fitzgerald obviously is getting old. You could use offensive line, as in you could use a tackle, you could use a guard, you could use a center. You need that. You need linebackers. You need a safety. I don't know that cornerback. I mean, you got Patrick Peterson, obviously very, very good. Tramon Williams is playing, obviously, the old Packer, is playing better than he ever has in his entire career from an actual factual standpoint. And Tyrann Mathieu, who is kind of up and down, is decent. I don't know. I mean, what are you going to do with him, I guess is the question. Is he an eventual replacement? Maybe. But even so, I think there's some immediate needs here that should be addressed. Offensive line maybe being the biggest one of them all. Wide receiver wouldn't hurt. And getting somebody for your... Because here's the other thing, too. I think with Lamar Jackson, more than anybody, you have to make sure that you can protect this guy. You don't want to turn him into a guy that's simply going to have to choose between take off and run and expose yourself, or try to force yourself to stay into this collapsing pocket and just get completely wrecked. I mean, this is a guy whose his career is over. I'm looking at this and I'm just saying this guy's done. He's doomed. He's over. He's got nothing. Because he's got an offensive line that can't block for him. Now he's got a running back that's coming back that's pretty solid. But outside of that, I mean, you're looking at a guy that's just going to get absolutely trashed in the media because he's not going to have very much to throw to. And he's going to have an offensive line that's collapsing around him, which is going to make him want to run. So what you're going to see on TV is a guy that just holds a ball, takes off and runs. He's either running or he's not completing passes. So then everyone's going to be like, oh, look how bad he is. Even if he's running for first downs, even if he wins football games, they're going to be saying this guy's no good at quarterback. It's going to hurt his confidence. He's going to get hit a lot, and he's not a very big guy. He can't take very many hits. I'm just saying it's a really, really bad situation for him to be in, to be on a team that does not have an offensive line, doesn't have as many weapons as he probably needs, and we got a cornerback that is going to be, I don't know, rotational. He's going to sit on the bench until next year. I don't really know what the situation is. Maybe Peterson's on the way out after this year. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just saying don't really understand why of all the needs, I would say cornerback would be maybe the lowest on the list. For me personally. I'm just saying. With the 48th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the LA Chargers select Marcus Allen, safety, Penn State. Raphael, whatever, is the GM. I feel like you say Raphael, but it's not very phonetic. It's not the way you would say Raphael, would be how it's spelled. In the first round, the Chargers took Orlando Brown, which is a pretty solid pick. The Chargers need that help. In terms of why you would take a safety, I'm kind of just on the exact same train as I was last year. This team, you could go defense if you want. If you want to go defensive line, I think you could argue for that. If you want to go linebacker, maybe you could argue for that. Otherwise, I don't know. Boston and Adai, these are your safeties right now, and you're gonna do what with this new guy? I have no idea. There's no better defensive back group in the NFL. I'm just gonna say it right now. You've got Hayward, King, Williams, Boston, and Adai. That's just freakish. So again, you want to go linebacker or defensive line? Fine, I'll buy it. But in my opinion, offensive line would be nice. Defensive line, linebacker. That's pretty much all I can say unless you're going to go for a quarterback or something to that effect. I don't know what a safety is going to do on this team other than just looking at it and saying this guy should have been gone a long time ago. We're going to take him because we're going best player available. Fine, you can try that line, but in the second round having a guy sit on the bench, I don't get that. I think comes a time when best player available is just no good. If anything else, I mean, in real life, there's no trade value. You can't trade in this draft that I did. But in real life, if that's the situation and he is that good, you try to trade back. You just say, look, I have this value in this player. He's sitting here. He's worthy of a late first round, early second round pick, and I'm willing to trade this position so you can get him, and I'll get a bunch of other stuff for it. I don't really know. But in terms of that pick, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. I don't know where he goes, where he plays. Chargers fans, curious your insights on that. With the 49th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Dorance Armstrong, edge rusher out of Kansas. Christopher made the pick in the first round, and by the way, that's their second pick in the second round. So they got Sam Darnold, then they got Isaiah Wynn to protect him. Now they're going defense and they're going edge rusher. I like this because as a team we're looking at getting better, but we're looking at getting a lot better. And I know I can already hear the chirp and Durant should have been gone by now. I get that. Maybe not. Things change quite a bit. He's already late first, early second round conversation, so mid-second isn't worthy of just flipping out over. So just calm yourself. But we're looking at Sam Darnold, which is going to completely revamp this organization. Even if he sits for a year, which I doubt. What would probably happen is we'd give the veteran the start, and then mid-season we'd see Sam Darnold take over. Isaiah Wynn steps in, he protects this guy, and now we're turning to defense, and we're taking a guy that, again, some people don't value him. Jets, we're looking at him saying this is a late first-round talent. He's a great edge rusher. We're going to bring him in, and we're going premium positions, right? Left tackle, quarterback, edge rusher. Those are like the three premium positions. So the Jets are hitting on all cylinders, in my opinion. What your value of Sam Darnold, Isaiah Wynn, and Dorance Armstrong are, I don't know. If you don't like them, feel free to comment. But I think in terms of value, in terms of being very methodical and taking advantage of your draft picks, I think this is a home run for the Jets with these three picks. With the 50th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Ronnie Harrison, safety out of Alabama. Almost the exact same thing that I said about Dorance I'm saying about Ronnie. I get it. I know he's a first round-ish, early second round. They're kind of tied at the hip, those two. They're going around the same time. I'm saying the same thing for it. I understand he probably should be gone, but he's not. Cowboys get him. First round, they went and got Vita Vea. Dwayne made, I believe, both picks. So here are Dwayne's comments about Ronnie Harrison. Ronnie Harrison comes from vaunted pedigree of Alabama safeties. He has the size at 6'3", 215. He has the speed and range with a school 40 time around the 4.5s. He is a sure tackler and also an enforcer for the middle of the field that the Cowboys haven't seen since Darren Woodson. He has decent ball skills to come up with the interceptions and plays the run as vicious as any linebacker. His liability is coverage. He's adequate in zone but can't stick with slot wide receiver or elusive tight ends like Travis Kelce. Fortunately, we have Byron Jones for that. He'll be exceptional in Coach Marinelli's dime zone scheme as the roving safety. So a lot of thought went into that pick. Not only is it a good value pick, but it's a great fit for the Cowboys. The Cowboys now have two big, and I mean big when we're talking about Vita Vea, defensive pieces to help improve this defense. I've already stated that I would like to see the Cowboys get a little more help on the offensive line side. But there's no question, you get a guy like Vita Vea to help in your run defense. You get a guy like Ronnie Harrison to help on the back end. And now you get the offense coming back strong. You got your quarterback and your running back. There's no more scandals or people looming suspensions or any of that stuff. We're just coming back. We're getting serious. We're going right back into the playoffs, and we're shooting for a Super Bowl. Because this team is still very, very capable of that. They're in the running. They didn't make it as far as they should have. A lot of teams didn't. A lot of teams fell off for whatever reason, but the Cowboys are still in it. They're absolutely still in the race. They're still in the hunt. They're still a very talented football team. With the 51st pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Maurice Hurst, defensive tackle out of Michigan. Now, Maurice, you could say 3 in a row guys that should have gone first round that are going way too late. Maurice is way up in the air. Some people say he is the best defensive tackle. Kind of a weird kind of guy because he's not a traditional defensive tackle. He's pretty small, but in terms of being like a pass rushing interior type guy, he's incredibly good. At least that's my understanding of him. Mitchell made the pick. They got Roquan Smith in the first round. So two very talented, very athletic defensive players. This defense got a lot faster with Maurice Hurst and Roquan Smith. And being in the NFC North, you're competing with the Vikings, who makes me sick to say are now the kings of the North, and then you got the Packers with obviously a very talented passing offense there. Bears now have a new offensive-minded head coach, so they're known for their offense. They need to get some better running backs. Hopefully they can get that in the third round or later, but defense is very, very important. They need to be able to stem the tide. They can do some stuff on offense, but they need to be able to do better at stopping other teams on defense. When the Lions were a more challenging team, it wasn't just back when they had Megatron. It was when they had a solid defense that scared the living daylights out of you. That's when, as a Packer fan, I'd go into these games and just go, ugh, Lions are they're just so good, and I hate playing them. It was their defense. It was never really their offense. With the 52nd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Clelin Ferrell, edge rusher out of Clemson. I told you, don't get mad. Drug paraphernalia, you know what? He was doing drugs right there in the draft room is what happened. That's what happened. And then the teams just gave up on him, and the Ravens are like, well, we got to... Listen, these things happen, all right? It's not a perfect process. It is what it is. There's really no reason to even explain it, but he went to the trouble to write up some notes, so we're going to read the notes from GM Trevor, and here they are. The Ravens need a tight end more than an edge rusher, but Ozzie Newsome, GM of the Ravens, loves to pick the best player available and won't let a talent like Ferrell get by him in the second round. In the second half of the season, the Ravens failed to put pressure on the quarterback, and Terrell Suggs is near retirement. Ferrell will fit into the Ravens' 3-4 defense. So, for the record, the Ravens took James Washington in the first round. That was another pick that was not very popular by a lot of people, but no question at all the Ravens fans are going to be excited about Clelin Ferrell falling to them at pick 52. With the 53rd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Auden Tate, wide receiver, Florida State. So this is the Bills' third pick already. They took, this is GM Liam, by the way, but in the first round they took Christian Wilkins and Mason Rudolph. That were their first two picks, so they got their quarterback. Then they got, in my opinion, a top 10 talent way at the end of the first round. Now they're looking to help out their quarterback Mason Rudolph, get him that weapon that he needs in Auden Tate. Again, your perception of Auden Tate, I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. But in terms of methodology, I understand it. It makes a lot of sense. And you got another pick coming up. So if you're kind of saying we need a different need, we'll see what they do with their second round pick and fourth in the first two rounds. With the 54th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Josh Allen, linebacker, Kentucky. Now, I believe I just heard as of this morning, I saw it somewhere, that Josh Allen is deciding to go back to school, so he will not be getting picked by anybody. But in this case, because it didn't happen until after he decided to go back to school, we're fine with it. The Titans took a linebacker in the first round. They took Joshua Jackson, the cornerback. So sticking with defense for the Titans. To be completely honest, if I'm a Titans fan, I'm pretty upset with this draft so far. I think they're decent at corner. I think they're pretty decent at linebacker. Um, you know, I've said it before. I think they need help with wide receiver, and I got yelled at for that. I don't care for your wide receivers. I don't think Rashard Matthews is I don't know if he's ever really been all that good, but he's not doing anything all that great. Eric Decker has been good in the past, but he's having one of his worst years. I don't know if it's your quarterback that's making your wide receivers not look good. I don't remember. I hear a lot of things. I never remember where it's coming from. I'm trying to give people credit, but somebody was saying it's the quarterback that makes the I think it was just in the Georgia-Alabama game yesterday, but it's the quarterback that makes the wide receiver. Oh, no, it was, what's his name, talking about Cam Newton. Anyways, it's the quarterback that makes the wide receiver. These wide receivers are coming over here. They paid money for them, and all of a sudden these wide receivers are having some of the worst years they've ever had. So, I don't know. Maybe Mariota is not really doing all that great, even though his PFF grade is good. They also gave Brett Hundley a decent grade, which is pathetic. Bottom line is, you go corner, you go linebacker on a team that has decent corners and decent linebackers. I mean, as I'm looking at it, there isn't a lot of like really, really bad stuff that I can see other than, you got Cyprian at safety, who it seems like had a great year last year and is just absolutely horrible this year. He's ranked 80th at the position. 80th. I typically don't like to give away specific grades on here because, respect Pro Football Focus and whatnot, but 80! Again, if I go back to that thing I said about 2 per team, we're talking 64 in the NFL. 64 starters at safety. Maybe a little more. You got rotational guys, whatever. Still, 80th. Jonathan Cyprian. That's pathetic. Maybe we're looking at safety. I would be okay with wide receiver. Maybe even tight end, because Delaney Walker, as good as he is, the guy's hurt every 4 seconds. I don't know what you do, but linebacker and corner as a Titans fan, let me know, Titans fans, what you think. I would be a little upset by that, because I'm looking at it going, what are we supposed to do with these guys? Moving on. With the 55th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Damian Harris, running back, Alabama. The GM, Anthony. First round pick, Tavares McFadden. I typically do my best to try to defend these picks for the GMs. I figure I'll defend it. I'll take the heat from the comment section because I want the guys to at least feel comfortable with their picks and not worry about getting trashed or whatever. I don't want to be the guy to trash people. My whole thing is trying to make sure everybody has fun in the group and has fun doing these mocks. But again, I just don't really get it. I don't understand what the goal here is getting a running back. I mean, the Falcons are known for having 2 really good running backs. What is this guy going to do? So, from what I can see, a tight end wouldn't be the worst. A guard wouldn't be horrible. Linebacker wouldn't be maybe the worst option. I don't know what your board looks like. Maybe you're taking best player available once again. But, I mean, of all positions, I don't understand running back. A quarterback, running back, I mean, even wide receiver to an extent. Or edge rusher. I don't know. I don't get running back. I don't understand the logic. I wish he had left me some notes. Maybe he'll comment in the comment section to defend himself. That would be ideal for him. But I would be curious the thought process, other than, once again, just looking at your board, saying who's the best and taking the best, not really thinking beyond that very much. Moving on, with the 56th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Anthony Miller, wide receiver out of Memphis. The GM for that was Matthew, and their previous pick, Derwin James. So this is a brand new, renewed team with Jimmy Garoppolo on the team. I know he's only played in short stints, and for some reason 49ers fans are pitching a fit about it. I've seen a few people like, he's not that good. Like, what are you... He's ranked inside the top 10. I'll just leave it at that already. Again, small sample size, but the guy's in the top 10. Just... He's good. That's all there is to it. That was a big question. Is it just a system thing over in New England, or is this guy actually that good? Seems to me he's pretty good. And who is he playing with? Marquise Goodwin. Oh, yeah, since when is he so good? 2013, not good. 2014, not good. 2015, not good. 2016, not good. All of a sudden, you got Jimmy Garoppolo coming over. Oh, he's pretty good. Again, the whole theory that I just heard yesterday, quarterback makes the wide receiver, it seems to be making more sense every team I'm looking at. Trent Taylor at slot. Okay. Who else we got on this team? Louis Murphy. This guy has been garbage since 2009. He had a decent year last year, fine. I'm talking straight trash. 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, no good. So Garoppolo's doing decent. He needs help on the offensive line. He doesn't have much at tight end. He doesn't have much at wide receiver. His running back situation is a joke, and he's coming in and he's tearing it up. So getting him some wide receiver help in the second round is awesome. They got some safety help, which, maybe best player available, fine, but I don't really, corner maybe would have been pretty good. Defensive line, defensive end, even linebacker to pair up with Foster. I would have been okay with probably any of those things. Safety of all positions on defense is probably the least, but he was probably a really good value. I think he fell quite a bit, so but take it for what it's worth. Either way, a wide receiver here makes a lot of sense to me. With the 57th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs, their first pick ever in the history of the world, select Dante Pettis, wide receiver, Washington. So Dylan was the GM there. Again, I don't have notes, but the first thing that comes to my mind is, and I'm whatever. First thing that comes to my mind, you're probably going to have a new quarterback, which I don't know if that's the case or not. Everybody's trying to push for Mahomes to get in there, but Alex Smith is doing okay. More than likely, he's going to get traded away because they have Mahomes and there's good value in Alex Smith, especially considering what he, being able to get into the postseason and whatnot. But either way, you got one pick in the first two rounds, and what are we doing? We're arming up our wide receiving core for our brand new spanking quarterback, presumably in Mahomes. In terms of need, though, it also makes sense. I mean, you could go in a lot of different directions. Typically, when a team has a lot of needs, wide receiver, offensive line, cornerback, safety. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about some of these, but I'm seeing lots of holes along this team. You're typically probably going to want to go best player available, but again, I'm making an exception when you have a brand new quarterback to try to make him successful. I'm looking at offensive line. You've got Kelsey, which is awesome as a receiver. That safety valve for young quarterbacks. I'm fading fast here. I need my coffee. The safety valve tight end is awesome. It's huge. You got Tyreek Hill, who's a big playmaker. Now you get another wide receiver that you can slide out. I think that's going to be big for your quarterback. With the 58th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Desmond Harrison, tackle, Texas. GM was Kevin. The first-round pick, Hayden Hurst. I like the pick, not necessarily from a value standpoint, because I have no idea how good of a offensive lineman he is. But you've got a team that has decided to go all in. They've paid a ton of money for defense, and this is the first time I've ever seen this whole dream team philosophy actually work. Typically, you go out and just pay for a bunch of people, and it does not work. This defense is just disgusting. It's just I can't believe there's so many good defenses that I just have respect for. And as a Packers fan, I've always been big on offense, right? Brett Favre just slinging the ball. It gets me so excited. Defense has never excited me until this year. I'm watching these defenses, and I have so much respect for these teams. And this Jacksonville defense is just so good. I can't get over how awesome it is. Now, the problem is the offense. So it makes a lot of sense, again, for a team that decidedly has just said we're going all in, we're doing it through the defense, and we're going to win through the defense. The offense is what's letting this team down. So through the draft, you have to assume that's where we're going. If we're not going to get rid of Bortles, which maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't, I don't know. We'll leave that up to the Jaguars fans in the comment section. Let me know what you think. But if you're not going to, fine. Tight end makes a lot of sense, getting a guy like Hayden Hurst in there. You've got a really good running back in Leonard Fournette. The next thing you need to address is offensive line. You've got some talented wide receivers that are going to be coming back next year. So you got your wide receivers, you got your running back. You now have a brand new tight end who's going to help you in the blocking and in the receiving. Now you start building the offensive line. You've already got one of the better defenses I've ever seen in my life. Very methodical, very, again, how good is this player? Is he any good? Is he going to be able to start? I don't know. But compared to the players already on this team, I'd say he's got a pretty good shot. With the 59th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Deon Cain, wide receiver, Clemson. So in the first round, they took Harold Landry. Andrew was the GM this time around, taking Deon Cain. I'm fine with the pick. I think the Panthers could use quite a few different things. I've mentioned before, and I've kind of got into it about Funches, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what you think about Funches. I'm personally not a big fan. I think he makes a good number two. Some people think he's a number one, but it doesn't matter. You get a second wide receiver, whether he's number one and Funches is number two, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. Bottom line is you got one guy, and it's Funches, and he's either kind of good or not very good. Either way, it's not good enough. You've got some pretty good running backs. You could use some offensive line help, whatever. The other thing to take note of is Cam Newton, because he is a lot of this offense, him being able to take off and run. I don't think he's a phenomenal thrower by any stretch of the imagination, but as a runner, obviously he's a big threat. But the dude takes a lot of hits because he stands in the pocket, and because he runs from the pocket, he takes a lot of big hits. He needs to be able to throw to somebody. So get him some wide receiver help, get him some offensive line help. Tell him just hang out in the pocket a little bit more, because we'd like you to be our quarterback for several more years, because despite the couple of deficiencies you might have, sailing the ball over people's heads and whatnot, you're better than a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL. We want to keep you healthy. Here's a nice shiny wide receiver for you to play with. With the 60th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills for the fourth time select Sam Hubbard, edge rusher, Ohio State. So Sam is another guy that, I don't know. I don't even know where he's at. For a while, he was like early first. Then he just disappeared from the first round. So I don't even know really where he's at. But I think it's pretty safe to say that at the end of the second, it's a steal to get Sam Hubbard. To recap their picks, they got Christian. So now they got two offense, two defense. So again, very methodical by the Bills. We're trying to build a very well-rounded team, try to improve a little bit of everything. We've got Christian Wilkins was our first pick. He's going to help with that run defense and up the middle pressure. We've got now Sam Hubbard on the edge, who's going to help obviously on the edge. We've got Mason Rudolph and Auden Tate to help the offense, specifically the passing offense. So we've revamped this team in the first two rounds with our first four picks, taking critical positions with a real talented top 10 player at the end of the first round, an edge rusher, a quarterback, and a weapon for our quarterback. I'm fine with all these picks. Liam made that pick as well, so pretty solid job by Liam in the second round. With the 61st pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, and for the fifth time already, the Cleveland Browns select Ogbonnia Okoronkwo, edge rusher, Oklahoma. Tom made that pick. Thanks a lot to the Browns for picking both Chukwuma Okorafor and Ogbonnia Okoronkwo. That's just incredible that they got both of them. To recap, though, Josh Rosen. So we'll do it this way. We got Josh Rosen and Bryce Love for the offense, and then on defense we got, and Chukwuma for a tackle, and then we got Minka and Ogbonnia on the defensive side. So we got a pass rusher to obviously help with the pass rush, to pair up with Myles Garrett. Then we got Minka Fitzpatrick to help on the back. The only real critique I would have in this particular situation is the fact that we maybe didn't go a little more defensive back heavy, to have 5 picks in a draft class that is supposedly now very talented at cornerback. It probably would have been pretty cool to grab Minka and a corner. Maybe instead of Bryce Love would be, I know you probably need another running back, so I'm fine with Bryce Love. I guess I don't know who else you would get rid of at this point. That would be my only thought, is maybe instead of Bryce Love getting a corner. Otherwise, I'm fine with it, right? Edge rusher, quarterback, Minka Fitzpatrick, who is maybe the best in this entire draft class in terms of just raw, talented football player. Bryce Love to help with the running back situation, and we got a new tackle to help protect Josh Rosen. So pretty solid. It's hard to have 5 picks in the first 2 rounds and not be a little excited about your team. With the 62nd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Deshaun Elliott, safety, Texas. Their first pick was Mark Andrews, which is pretty standard to have them taking a tight end. I think that's their biggest need. The next question is, what is their next biggest need? Moses goes ahead and picks Deshaun Elliott. He is the GM for the Steelers. Personally, I don't necessarily know if that's the best pick, but as I'm looking at it, I can't imagine looking at it and saying safety's not a need for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think getting some defensive back help is always going to be a good thing for this team. Specifically, though, safety, I think it's a safe. You could go safety or corner, I think, either way. But presumably this is best player available and a big need for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm going to call that a pretty good pick. With the 63rd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Ken Webster, cornerback, out of Ole Miss. So that would be another option for the Browns. Ken Webster is a guy that was at one point the best corner in the entire draft class, and then he kind of fell off, and it's just a really weird thing. I mean, again, I can't find any film, so presumably a lot of other people can, so maybe that's why. Whereas genuine talent scouts who have all this film and everything else know exactly where he's at. People like me and other fans who try to evaluate film are really fluctuating on Ken Webster. Either way, very talented cornerback. I think the Patriots have gotten, at least in his mind, Clelin, who I believe made all 3 picks, got a lot of steals. So at the end of the first, he got Daron who he thought was the best tackle in the entire draft class. Presumably that means he believes Daron is like a top 10 talent. Equanimeous St. Brown, kind of a first roundish kind of guy. Late first, early second, so a good pick up there in the middle of the second round. And then Ken Webster is one of the more talented corners, picking him up at the end of the second. So a lot of real good value picks for the Patriots. I know Gilmore and Butler are very good corners. I believe Butler is maybe not going to be back next year. I'm not. I mean, he's a free agent. I know that because the the new Packers GM was kind of hinting at maybe being a little more active in free agency, so I looked it up, and sure enough, Butler's on the list. But they might resign him. I don't know whether or not they do. 3 corners is not going to hurt. I think whether or not he can play in the slot would be a big question as far as Ken Webster, because that would be somewhere where he could get put in. If he's not a big slot guy, then you're kind of running that risk of, if they do bring back Butler. Well, I suppose what we could do with this pick is assume they're not bringing Butler back, right? Maybe that's what we'll say. We're drafting Ken Webster because we want to at least have the option of getting rid of Butler. Finally, with the 64th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Jamarco Jones, tackle, Ohio State. So David made that pick in the first round. The Vikings took Denzel Ward, kind of a iffy pick, and I kind of ragged on it a little more than I wanted to. I wasn't really trying to rag it. I'm just saying I don't know, because I hear it's kind of 50-50 among Vikings fans. Some Vikings fans love their corners and say, why are you drafting corner? I think they are fine. Other Vikings fans saying we absolutely need corner. But either way, offensive line is definitely a need for the Vikings. Jamarco Jones is, I've seen him mocked in the first, so very end of the second, you got to like that pick, absolutely. The Vikings have, regardless of who their quarterback's going to be, they've got some incredible wide receivers. That might be the one example of a team where the wide receivers make the quarterbacks, because they've got some really talented wide receivers, and no matter what quarterback comes in, they always seem to do fine. Either that or they're just extremely lucky with 3 good quarterbacks. I don't know the situation, but you've got your quarterbacks, you've got your wide receivers, you've got a really talented running back that's going to be coming back next year that didn't see a lot of the field because of an injury. You need to get some offensive line help to help out, because the Vikings are trying to stay on top, and with Aaron Rodgers coming back next year, that's not a sure thing. So getting offensive line help is going to ensure that we have an offense, because that's the biggest thing. Their defense is shutting down a lot of people, but sometimes they go on these big losing streaks because the offense just can't score points. That was more of a 2016 issue than a 2017 issue, but still, we got to make sure that we're fueling this offensive fire. Jamarco Jones, I think, is going to help that quite a bit. But that is it. That is all there is to it. Again, check the comment section for everything and anything you'll ever need to know. Donations are appreciated. I'll say that probably for one of the last times, because I am planning to switch to Patreon, even though I hate that very much. I don't understand it. I don't know how it works. But before I do that, I'm trying to figure out some kind of perks that I could offer through Patreon. I have some ideas, but that is probably going to be the plan moving forward. So anyways, you folks have yourselves a fantastic day. I am taking the day off thanks to car trouble, so I'll be here all day working on football things and scheming and planning for the next fantastic video. You folks have a great day. Bye-bye.